The show is Home Before Dark. It dropped on Apple TV Plus. What drew you to this show in the first place?
Well, I remember hearing about Hildy maybe 3 or 4 years ago when she was actually 9 and broke the story and became national news. It shook up her town a little bit, and she didn't back down from it. And I loved that sort of moxie. And then I sort of forgot about it. I remember keeping that in my mind. And then Dana Fox and Dara Resnick, and who are the creators of the show, and Joy Gorman, a producer, they came to me a couple years ago and reminded me of that. Said we want to make a show of that, but they wanted to expound on it. So they took that true story and sort of built on top of it. I had just had a daughter at that time.
Wow.
And so I was also going through figuring out how I'm going to raise a child and how I want to frame the world for her. And they were like, that is exactly what our show is about. This is her father, Matt, who's also a journalist, and taught her everything she knows, and that she's sort of turning the mirror on him, and that she was going to finish the tasks that he never did. And I love this idea of the children are going to save us. And so I immediately was on board. I've been a huge fan of Dana and Dara's for a long time. So the opportunity to work with them on something very unique, a show for the whole family, for kids and adults, was something I couldn't pass up.
So to call the stars of this show, the kid stars, precocious, I think is almost an understatement.
Yeah, it's not even the right word, because that's sort of like what we call kids who feel like they're acting smart, but actually Brooklyn Prince is one of a kind on this planet. She's like an alien from outer space, examining the human race. She has to understand every scene, has to understand what Hildy's feeling at certain things. She's not just saying words. And it really tested me as a director to also know those answers and to be in Hildy's perspective of stuff all the time. That the conflict is as big as any adult would feel. The consequences are as big as anything in any story. And to see it through how a kid would understand stuff like a murder or a kidnapping. And also trying to pick apart why adults treat children this way or that way. And what are the wounds of adults? I remember thinking my parents were invincible and were perfect. And then there you get around that age where you start to realize, they're human beings too, and they have flaws and insecurities as well. And it's a hard thing to go through as a kid. And someone like Brooklyn, playing a character like Hildy, is figuring that out at a very young age. Figuring out that what they're taught, that the truth is the most important thing, and yet kids are the most lied to by adults. I think that's a hard thing for anybody to go through, and so I love processing that through them. And so from her to all the other kids in our show, Kylie is amazing as her older sister. They have just this truthfulness to it. I hate saying authenticity because I think that word is overplayed, but this truthfulness that I didn't have to add on to really drove the tone of the show.
Yeah, speaking of the tone too, it's family friendly, but it's a little edgy. How much of a challenge was it to kind of strike that balance? It's
a constant challenge, especially because people can't put it in a box. When you do things that can't be put in a box, you're constantly double thinking yourself and trying to nudge here and there. But Dana was very clear about what she wanted. It was this idea of this sort of Amblin truthful story. We never were going to look down on Hildy's experience, but at the same time go as dark as we want with a messy marriage, with a messy family, because that was a big message of the story, that we want perfection and we expect the truth to be perfection, but actually the truth is the messiest, scariest, ugliest thing, and it takes courage to face those things. And courage, again, is not a lack of fear. It's saying that confronting those things are more important than the fear itself. And I just think when you're talking about a family, and I have a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old, the truth is you're hiding a lot of the truth all the time anyway, because you're in front of your friends, you're trying to act like you have slept in days, and in front of their kids and your other parents, you're acting like everything's fine. But at home is hard. You're figuring it all out. And I just think that's that was something that Dana, who has seen this show all the way through and from its inception, really instilled in all of us, and it was very it spread through the cast and the crew.
Just gonna do a little okay, we're still recording. Just want to make sure. Thank you.
You do that, I do my air check.
Yeah, there you go.
Wearing a hat all day.
So, you're no stranger to directing for television, but this is obviously a streaming platform. So does doing something for streaming kind of allow you to do something that you wouldn't be able to do in, say, like linear TV?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really done traditional television before this. I mean, I did a pilot for Freeform, and I've done stuff, I've done like YouTube stuff before that, to be honest, and some Hulu things, but not at this level, not at, and it was very freeing to have such close collaborators, have it being led by Dana and Dara, and having a writer's room that I'm not really in there every day with. But I love that. I love being in charge of my episodes and setting a tone and a look, and then working with other directors, them carrying on the story. I loved getting the cast set, getting them comfortable, but not fully seeing how their characters evolve, because they got to do that with other directors. I did the first 2 episodes, so it's been a really great learning experience, but at the same time, to tell stories that go beyond just an hour or 2 hours, to really dive deep into each of these characters and build a universe. That was really eye-opening, and I loved it. I can't wait to tell more stories in this way.
It's a really weird time right now as we try to figure out Instagram. We're doing interviews via social media, but specifically, it is a weird time, and I would say a scary time for the Asian American community specifically. We have leadership calling the coronavirus the Chinese virus. It's become racialized. People in the community are scared to go out into public spaces. How has it affected you?
The fact that I have to be conscious of taking a walk around the block is mind-blowing to me, and so sad and so disappointing. In a time when usually when we're at war, we all come together, like everything, it actually like purifies everything. We all get on the same page, race, ethnicity, all age, generations, it all goes by the side and says, oh yeah, we're fighting for the same thing, for the same ideals and for the same world that we want to live in. So when there's somebody trying to create division during that kind of opportunity, it boggles my mind. And there are real human beings being affected this way. And I have not been yelled at or anything, but I'm very conscious of it. But my friends have, family members have, and we've lived through years of this kind of thing, but in pockets. And you don't always expect it every day, especially in like LA. But the fact is, it's so intensified right now, and everyone is already fearful. Everyone's already lost. Like we need light to get us out of this situation, not to drag us into another sort of something that makes no sense. I mean, not to be racist seems a very simple idea at a time where we need to worry about actually like defending against these invisible enemies. So, I'm just disappointed. It's 2020. Like, why we even have to put up with these conversations anymore? But we have Twitter, we have each other to make big noises now and say it's not okay to do this. And so I don't think this affects him or anyone else who's using this kind of rhetoric, who understands that, but we can still call it out, because I think it's important to mark it and remind everyone in history what has occurred.
Andrew Yang, he actually posted an opinion piece in the Washington Post suggesting that one way to combat this is for Asian Americans to just really show their Americanness.
Yes.
I don't know if you read that, but what are your thoughts on that? Do you see that as a way, as a strategy, I suppose?
Listen, everyone's can make their own opinions. We are not here to tear each other down for a fight that we all are on the same page on. How you fight that fight, of course, is different from person to person. I love Andrew Yang. He's a good guy. He has really good intentions. But sometimes, what you think in your head may not match up to a reality that we know that exists to other people. So listen, I don't think it's any place for a person to prove their Americanness. Like, we were born here, I live here, we are here, that should be that. It's not on us to fix those issues. But you know, I'm not gonna go after him for that. I'm gonna go after the people who deserve to get, sort of put on the ringer, and that's the people who are actually yelling and thinking this is true. So, and the leadership that tries to create that divide, even amongst ourselves. So, I don't want to take that bait to try to go after each other. I'd rather focus our energy on the actual issue at hand, which is people being racist and pitting Americans against Americans. Just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, just making sure we're doing this.
Yeah.
And this coming just 2 years after Crazy Rich Asians, it feels a little bit like the Twilight Zone, right? Like that we had such boon for representation and for normalizing our stories, and now to be faced with this kind of danger.
Listen, I think it's like when the plates are moving, the earth shakes, and there are residual effects. It's how you know change is happening, and the edges get sharper, and the enemies get feistier because they're losing control. And so when we're talking about representation, the more equality we all get, the more scared others get. But the reality is, like, no one's here to take over anything. We're all here to share with each other what we know and what we all experience. That's why I think what we do, even though it seems silly, making movies, making television shows that have mysteries and different characters here and there, going on adventures, in a time like this when there's actually death happening, it actually reminds us that the power of storytelling is what connects us all, that we all feel out of place, we all feel alone. Physically now we actually are alone, but that in that struggle we are a community. And it only actually reminds us how important our role in this fight is, to help change minds, to help bring people to places that they could never be, and meet people and become parts of families and dinners that they could never be a part of before.
And now that we are social distancing officially, it's really disrupted the industry. It's really disrupted a lot of your projects. It sounds like, In the Heights being pushed down indefinitely. Yeah. When did you learn about that, and what was your reaction?
Yeah, well, I figured June 26th was going to be very close to when people are maybe not even back yet. Yeah. So I kind of knew when I left New York that it would be very dicey when that would be. And I hate the word indefinitely because that means it's sort of open-ended, but we're going to have a date. It's just about, if we chose a date now, it would probably get shifted later. So we're not going to commit to one now. What we are committed to is this is going to be in a theater. This has to be in a theater. Yeah. It demands it to be in a theater. Lynn wrote a show. Kiara wrote a show. This community lived a life that deserves to be on the big screen and celebrated in the biggest magical way through a musical. And we're going to deliver that. And our partners at Warner Brothers understand what our movie is. We've shown audiences our little rough cut, and we have gotten that feeling. So we know what we have. And when the world is ready to celebrate again, we are going to celebrate big. And it's going to be a party in that theater. So I cannot wait to set that date and then meet everyone there. It's going to be nuts.
Yeah. I mean, I think the word that comes to mind is just exuberant when that trailer dropped. And I spoke to Stephanie Beatrice, who's part of the cast, and this was before the world became what it is right now. And she did say, just spoke to how this movie really speaks to the nuances of the Latinx experience.
Again, I'm not part of that community,
sure,
but I was welcomed into that community. I really was like sort of a listener and became sort of a bouncing board to try to use the tools that I know to help communicate what I got to witness. So when they say, Heights in your heart, it truly did get into my heart so much that I actually named my son Heights. It was such a beautiful community to be invited into, to experience, to eat food with, to make a movie with, to be in our movie itself, to learn new dances with. And so I'm really excited the world is going to get to experience that. In our movie, we have this blackout that happens, and the community is sort of giving up on everything. And Daniela, the salon lady, has to come back and say, wake the F up. Like, you can either feel sorry for yourself, or you can celebrate who you are, where you are, and who you're with. And it's this big song called Carnival de Barrio, and I really do feel like this movie is that for the world when the lights come back on for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I mean, of course, I have to ask about Crazy Rich Asians too.
Yes.
Where are we with that? I know you're looking for the right staff really to take the sequel.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. We have like ideas that we've been sort of playing with. But I have to be honest, we're not going to pursue this unless we get an amazing idea. I do not, want to bring our actors back and take another whack at this unless we have a much bigger, more sort of you must watch this, that we can top ourselves, that we have something to say. And so we just keep trying different things. And to be honest, we're getting close, but we're not there yet. And so it's about finding that compelling thing. But we're on the track. It's just, we're seeking perfection here.
Does that mean that it's going to veer away from the books a little bit then?
It's interesting what we've discovered, and I don't know how much to say or not say because I hate sort of disrupting our process right now, but I will give you this, that we changed so much in the movie, more than people actually really really realize maybe, or want to realize from the book. We took things out, we made conclusions to things that actually in the book are still hanging. And so we found that we actually, and I love the sequels of the book, so we're taking the parts that we can take, but at the same time, we also have to make a sequel to our movie and have characters that you want to see again, go on new things and experience new things. So that's the actual hard balance of figuring out how much from the book and how much from our movie are we trying to smash into that. So
yeah. Sorry, just let me say. And sorry, I just want to I'm paranoid that we're not recording, so I'm constantly checking.
If we aren't, we can always come back.
How, Adele Lim will not be a part of the sequel. Have you found someone to kind of be that voice of authenticity?
We've been meeting with a lot of people.
Okay. Got it.
Yes.
And I know you were taking on, adapting into a film, the story of that Thai boys soccer team that was trapped in the cave. Has that film been disrupted because of the coronavirus pandemic?
Well, everything's disrupted, to be honest. We're still developing it, so there's still more to do. And I don't remember exactly what is public or not public, so I don't know exactly what to say other than we are working on it, trying to find the best format to tell the story. In some ways, a movie is just too short and too succinct to get into the stories of the boys. We were taking trips to go visit the boys and learn more. And in some ways, I'm also just a steward on this. I really want, Thai filmmakers to be a part of it and writers to be a part of it. And I, of course, will help in whatever way I can. But it's no way for me to take that story on by myself. I'm just trying to help sort of orchestrate what needs to be done. So.
Yeah. I know when it was announced that you were taking on that project, one of the things that you had mentioned was it's, really about the Asian community being able to tell our stories and to own our stories. Do you think Hollywood, since Crazy Rich Asians, there seems to really have been a shift to tell more nuanced stories about the Asian American Pacific Islander community. Do you feel that shift in Hollywood since Crazy Rich Asians?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very different world from, and I'm not saying it's because of Crazy Rich Asians, but I do know that the wave was happening also before, but it definitely, there is a change. How long that sustains and what comes out of it is up to actually us, the storytellers. But there is a crack in the wall, and we're getting storytellers in there, and people are getting experience, and it takes time, and we're going to get a lot more stories from Tiger Tail, which I'm so excited to see, to The Farewell, of course, and a lot more of the, and again, there's sort of the global Asian experience, the very specific regions of China or Taiwan or Korea, those stories, and then there's like the Asian American stories that I also, to me, are sort of the newest perspective, because I'm not sure people have recognized the identity of the Asian American and the complicated nature of that. But there's a lot of makers now who are that. And so I'm excited to see what those next steps are. And I think a lot of them have a lot less fear than maybe I did growing up, having that kind of pressure, that kind of baggage on me. And so to me, it's coming, and it's going to take some time. But I think this new wave of filmmakers and storytellers don't even register the perceived limits there, and they're going to blow the roof off. So.
That baggage is something I hear a lot from Asian Americans of a certain age and in this industry. How do you think your journey and career as a director would be different if you had like your own Crazy Rich Asians movie had you grown up with that?
I don't know. I mean, I was very lucky. I have to admit, like, I was the youngest of 5. I grew up in a Chinese restaurant. My family's Chinese restaurant was very successful in the town. It's still it's 50 years now.
Chef Chu's,
yes. Which now has drive-through pickup. So if anyone's there in the Los Altos, I was very lucky. I was protected. I was very much insulated from this. With my mom protected me. I know my older brother had much more issues than I would have had. I think he took the brunt of that stuff. But by the time I came around, like, people knew my family, people knew our restaurant. It was an asset to be friends with me because you got free Chinese food and it was cool. Whereas when they started in 1969, there was no Chinese restaurants there, and there was. I mean, I don't even think interracial marriage was federally legal until 1968 or 67, something like that. So things have changed a lot by the time I came around. So I did not have the crazy baggage. Of course, like, deep down, I look back and I see the cracks that I couldn't see before. But also in a way, like, I was in a performance when I was like 10 years old in Pacific Overtures with Mako and a bunch of these cats. I was the youngest in that group. It was all adults. It was a stage musical, Sondheim musical. And I remember it was all Asian cast. Most, like 99%. And I remember thinking it was very normal. Like, it didn't seem weird to me. So again, I was very lucky to have that experience. So in a way, I did have a Crazy Rich Asians. It was Pacific Overtures at this time when I was a kid, and realized I never wanted to be in front of an audience. But I did have this thing of, like, looking up to these Asian actors who were amazing singers, amazing dancers, amazing choreographers, and Mako, who's like the king. So
Mako, he's an icon in Asian American theater.
Icon. Yeah. I also got to, Martin Yen was a really close friend of my father's, who was on TV all the time, an amazing chef. And so we were surrounded by people with a lot of power that were Asian, and were respected in the community. So I was a little bit shielded from that.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the reason why I could make something like Crazy Rich Asians, because I saw no issue, or I didn't have the baggage for that, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? I never really fully psychoanalyzed that part of it. But,
no time like self-quarantining.
Yeah, but I do know I did avoid things because I did not want to be categorized the way. So I agree. Yeah, there is a certain pressure that if I made something about me being Asian, then I would always be the Asian guy in the group. And I just didn't. I wanted to be a filmmaker, and I wanted to be seen as a filmmaker. So that is baggage. Again, this is like a therapy session. But I'm really unpacking things right now. I didn't know I was so affected. And it did take. I did do one short film in college about my cultural identity crisis. And it was so sensitive for me in terms of like, I didn't want to get it wrong. I didn't want to do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing because I knew the Asians would be after me and then the white people would be after me if I said the wrong thing. So it was just like a very delicate thing. And so I never really showed anyone that short. And that was probably the only time I ever dealt with my cultural identity until I was older for Crazy Rich Asians. And I was at a point in my life where I didn't give a fuck. So.
Do you still have that short?
Yeah, it's called Guaylo.
Oh,
Yes.
Which for non-speakers it means it's like foreigner. It's yes.
White devil, which was what I was called when I visited my brother who was living in Hong Kong at the time, and I met all his friends, and I was like, wow, this is such an amazing place. Like I feel like I'm at home. Like people treat me kindly, and like I'm family. And then his buddies called me Guaylo. So then you're like, oh, I'm not a part of this either. I'm not a part of this. Where am I? So that's sort of what it's about.
Yeah, it's a lot of negotiation, I think, sometimes to be Asian American. It's a lot of negotiation of identity. What do you think real progress looks like to you in Hollywood?
Real progress to me is opportunity, because you cannot force a storyteller to be good. They either are able to communicate something that's in them or not, or to a small group, and that's just as successful as a big box office, bonanza. So if you take success of money off the table, to me, it's just opportunity for people who didn't get opportunities before. And when I say that, I mean making movies there has been a price to making movies. You have to have crew people, so you have to pay them, or you have to know enough people to help you, or you have to have gone to film school to have a group of students to help you. You have to have cameras. You have to know how to edit, figure out how to do that, also get the editing software or physical things to do that. Then you had to release it and get it out to people. So there was a money barrier. And being in this business, you have to survive long enough in order to get the opportunities. So being around for 3 years is not enough. My friends who have survived long enough has been 8 to 12 years to pound the pavement, write for free, do all this stuff to get that. And most people do not, with the most interesting stories, do not have that opportunity to wait 12 years. So I think there's a barrier in that respect, but now with things like the iPhone, editing software that you can have for free that are built into your iPhone, YouTube where you can distribute the stuff, that barrier has gone down a certain degree. Now we have to take the perception that barrier exists out and give opportunities to people who are already making stuff on their iPhones and give them a bigger platform to do that. And hopefully, I already see that shifting, and it just needs to be a lot more. So success to me and change in Hollywood is just having so many more voices.
I love that.
And I think streaming, it gives that opportunity, actually.
Yeah.
Not everything has to be a movie in any sort of way. And I love movies, and I will always be a champion for movies. But that is not in replacement of streaming in any sort of way. I think streaming is what a great place to have people share their stories with the biggest audience.
This whole pandemic is really shaking up the industry. Are you worried about the lasting impacts that this might have?
Yeah.
What are you most worried about?
I'm worried about movie theaters, exhibitors. I think it was a tradition on the rocks anyway. So and not because of streamers, but because of getting people out and together is getting their attention for 2 hours, 2.5 hours of their lives is difficult. So and this doesn't, by the way, this is not just for theaters. This is restaurants, artists who work gig by gig, and so I hurt for those people. Like, I'm in a very lucky position. I just finished my movie, so I'm in sort of a lull anyway. Our lives are go like this anyway. You're always trying to like get your next job, but I hurt for the people who don't have that kind of leg room to sit back, because I think this is going to take a while. I think production's going to take a while to get off its feet, and I don't know the answer. And every day I wake up thinking, oh, maybe this will just pass, and then the reality hits, and like, this thing's not happening overnight. And so I just hope these opportunities that have opened the doors for people who just got out here, who just saw the door crack open, I hope that they still get some lifeboats to stay around and get in those cracks, because we just broke them open. So
yeah. Home Before Dark, are we getting another season?
We were shooting it. We were shooting until this thing happened.
Yeah.
So everyone got sent home for a little bit. So yes, I think Apple believes in it enough, and I'm sure the audience will really love it. And I can't wait for whole families, especially they're home right now, to experience this together. It's a fun, bingey watch.
I was gonna say, do you recommend binge? Is this like sit down, watch 10 episodes at once, or should we like take it bit by bit?
No, watch the whole thing. I'm a huge like true crime person. I also watch all the, the docs and stuff. Like, I love those things for some reason. And this has all of that, plus the sort of Amblin-esque story of true story of Hildy, plus the performance of Brooklyn Prince and Jim Sturgis and Abby Miller and Kylie Rogers. Like, this cast is so charming. You're gonna love hanging out with them, and something great to share with your family.
Jon M. Chu, thank you so much for joining the Variety After Show. This was such a great chat, and everybody, you can catch Home Before Dark. 10 episodes have dropped on Apple TV Plus. So in addition to this, what are you binging? What's your self-isolation binge?
Milano mint cookies, because they're freaking awesome, and I haven't eaten them since I was in like high school. I can't even fit in shirts anymore. Just eating it. I'm binging sweatpants. Little America is freaking awesome. I love Tiger King, of course, but like, who isn't? But honestly, I haven't had a crazy amount of time. I've been spending a lot of time with my kids and realizing how much time I actually don't spend with them. So that's been my life.
You think Carol Baskin killed her husband?
If we were friends hanging out in like my living room, I'd be like, hell yes. Because people are gonna see this, and I don't want to ruin people's lives, and it's much more, there's real consequences to that. I'm gonna say I don't know, and it's not my job to know. So
we can speculate off camera. All right, thank you so much, Jon.
Thank you.